Odinga.
And I believe in the story of the African lion.
I am the African lion. I have been asleep in the forest of the Congo. And you have danced for too long alone on the stage.
Well, we are at the cusp of history. In just a few hours from now, the Africa Union heads of state will have an election to choose the next Africa Union chairperson. It has been a very long journey for Raila Odinga of Kenya, Richard Randriamandrato of Madagascar, and Mohammed Youssef of Djibouti. All these candidates have traversed the continent, gone to different heads of state in different summits so that they can convince these heads of state that they are the best candidates to be the next AUC chairperson. But history will be made not only here in Kenya, but even in the larger Eastern Africa region, because it has been a rare occasion for the East Africa region to have the Africa Union chairperson. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about the history that Raila Odinga will be making should he be elected to be the next AUC chairperson just a few hours from now. What history will Raila Odinga have written, not only in Kenya, but even in the East Africa community? And what impact will it have for the larger African continent if Raila Odinga is elected to become the next Africa Union chairperson? Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button so that when I release something new on Raila and AUC, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, Raila Amolo Odinga is about to rewrite the history of this country, Kenya, if he clinches the seat to become the next AUC chairperson. Kenya has been here before, and the elections to choose the next AUC chairperson are not new to Kenya because Kenya fronted Amina Mohammed versus Musa Faki in the previous elections where Musa Faki triumphed over Amina Mohammed. So Kenya has been on the candidacy before, but it has not been on a candidacy like this one. It has not been a candidate of the magnitude of a former Prime Minister of Kenya. This is totally different. And Raila Odinga, in his own words, came out and said that, I feel very confident that I'm going to win these AUC elections. Well, all indications are showing that Raila Odinga is truly a front runner in this race because many presidents have come out and say that they are going to support Raila Odinga's bid to becoming the next AUC chairperson. If you critically analyze these different regions in Africa, the different presidents, you will realize that Raila Odinga is favored to become the next AUC chairperson. Well, of course, we're not saying that it's going to be an easy race, that Raila Odinga is automatically going to win. What we're saying is that Raila Odinga has an edge to win this seat and become the next AUC chairperson. And should he take the day, that means that Raila Odinga will be the first Kenyan to be at the top of the Africa Union. That will be history, that will be written, and that will go down in books that the first Kenyan to be at the helm of the Africa Union was Raila Odinga in 2025 February. And it is important to know that Kenya has been here. Kenya has almost been at the top of the Africa Union, not just many years ago. From 2008 to 2017, Erastus Mwencha was the deputy of the Africa Union, and Kenya was almost at the helm of the Africa Union, but that was not at the top, at the very top of the Africa Union. Right now, Kenya is going for the very seat that Amina Mohammed went for. Right now, we have a different candidate. The situations are different. The president is different. Right now, the one pushing for the candidacy of Raila Odinga is William Ruto. At that time, the one pushing for the candidacy of Amina Mohammed was Uhuru Kenyatta. So the situations are totally different. A lot has been happening. Even right now, the DRC issue is going to be a particular matter of conversation when these presidents are going to choose the next AUC chairperson. It's not only going to be about who speaks what language, it's also going to be about what are you bringing on the table. And this is what these candidates have been going to different countries to speak about. What are they bringing on the table? What are they giving as solutions to the situations or the problems that are facing Africans in this day and age? Well, this is also a very special election if you consider the candidacy of Raila Odinga. He is standing out amongst all these contenders that are here and that have been in the previous or the past elections for the Africa Union. And the reason is because Raila Odinga is coming straight from the opposition. Most of these leaders that have been fronted to be vying for this seat, this elective seat of the Africa Union, have been allies to their presidents. These have been people who have been working in close coordination with the presidents of the country. They have not come from the opposition. So this is a very special moment for Raila Odinga. If he wins to become the next AUC chairperson, it will be written that Raila Odinga came directly from the opposition, supported by the president, and became the AUC chairperson. A very special moment, because if you look at the candidacy, for example, of Mohammed Youssef, he is the foreign secretary of Djibouti. That means that he is in government, he is supported by the government, he has been supported by the president Gwele of Djibouti for quite some time, because the president has been there for quite a while right now. And that means that he is part of the government. He has been working in close coordination with the authorities of the country. If you look at Richard Randiamandrata, also a former foreign minister of Madagascar, was working closely with the government. So the candidacy of Raila Odinga is a totally new conversation when you are looking at the Africa Union candidacy and how these people are fronted. And that is a peculiar nature that we are also looking at this candidacy to say that Raila Odinga is standing a chance, because many of the presidents that are now presidents, some of them have been allies to Raila Odinga. For example, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has been a very good friend of Raila Odinga. The recently elected Ghana president has also been a very good friend of Raila Odinga. And these are the signs that we are seeing to say that Raila Odinga has a very good chance to become the next AUC chairperson. The candidacy of Raila Odinga and the victory of Raila Odinga in these Africa Union elections will also be very special for the East Africa community. I'm not talking about the Eastern Africa, I'm talking about the East Africa community. And this is because the last Africa Union leader from the East Africa community was Dr. Salim Ahmed in 1989 to 2001. He was the leader of the former organization before we had the Africa Union. Remember your history. We had the Organization of Africa Union. And Dr. Salim Ahmed was from Tanzania, and he was at the helm of the OAU from 1989 to 2001. Since then, we've not had a leader from the East Africa community at the helm of the Africa Union, and that is why the candidacy of Raila Odinga is very special. And that is also why we had the first presidents to endorse Raila Odinga coming from the East Africa community. They assembled here in Kenya, in Nairobi, and supported Raila Odinga and say that you are starting here at home, we are going to give you the support here from home. And as you go out and convince other presidents, but just know that the support from home is guaranteed that you are going to be the next Africa Union leader. And to cement that, Raila Odinga went and met the president of Burundi, that is Evariste Ndayishimiye. And he has been the last president that Raila Odinga has met. And then he has gone to Addis Ababa. And that was very special because President Ndayishimiye was not here in Kenya during the launch of his bid. Him and Kagame were not here. And right now, if you try to go deep to what is happening in the DRC, you'll find that Kagame and Ndayishimiye are not really in close terms. But Raila Odinga knows that he has the support of Kagame. He had to go and speak to Ndayishimiye of Burundi so that he could cement the relationship and assure him that should he be the Africa Union chairperson, all will be well for all countries, that diplomacy will reign. And these are the important last-minute meetings that make the entire differences when you come to counting the ballots, because it is going to be a very tight race, this one. As it has been speculated, it will be a tight race. No one can say who will win. We are only saying that Raila Odinga has an edge to win. So every vote, every head of state is very important to have beside you when you're talking about the Africa Union race. Because without the support of even one head of state, it could mean that you could lose that two-thirds majority and you will fail to become the next AUC chairperson. That is why Raila Odinga has made sure that he has visited as many heads of states as possible, as many foreign ministers as possible, so that he could have that definitive win over two-thirds support when the votes are cast just hours from now. And lastly, this is not just Raila Odinga going out to vie for the Africa Union chairperson. This is a test of Kenya's influence in the continent. What is Kenya's influence in the continent? We have talked time and time again about Djibouti versus Kenya in terms of diplomacy, because it's not the first time that we are going head to head with Djibouti. When Kenya wanted to represent Africa at the UNSC, we had a head to head with Djibouti. Kenya won, but it was a fierce fight with Djibouti. Right now, the situation is just the same, and Djibouti is still at the other side, and we are going head to head again. So this is a test of William Ruto's presidency. It is a test of William Ruto's foreign policy in Africa and the rest of the world, because many organizations, international organizations, not only from Africa, but also outside Africa, the European Union and others are going to be very, very keen to assess what is going on with the Africa Union as one of its major partners in Africa. The United States will be very, very concerned. Other countries, China, Russia, will be very concerned with what is going on in the Africa Union. And that is why these elections are very, very critical for William Ruto and his administration as a test of his foreign policy so far from the time that he got elected as president. Well, and as we continue to wait for history to unfold in these few hours remaining, kindly subscribe to this channel for an updated briefing on what is going on with the AUC and Raila Odinga's candidacy to become the next AUC chairperson.